GWATA TV gives you a first look at North Central Washington's business news. You'll hear from our local business, tech, and education companies as Jenny discusses hot topics and current events with some of the best innovators and pioneers in North Central Washington.
And how is developing the app going? Is that, tell us about that process.
Slow, I guess.
Because it's kind of that's a unique process to go through, I would imagine.
Well, I'm not I guess this may be encouraging. We're not successful yet, so maybe it's not quite encouraging yet for non-technology people, but I'm not a programmer. I just know what I want the experience to be like. So we're working with a company in Canada that actually has a patent on using GPS to queue in remote orders. So I tried to get that patent, failed, found them, partnered with them, and then we've been developing for quite a long time now. And so it's a remote process, and it's sort of, it's my first software development experience. So I would say it's been hard and frustrating, but it's probably not terribly abnormal. It'd be easier if I were a programmer, and had a team locally, but that would be really expensive, and we're really scrappy. So we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be sitting here because I wouldn't have probably got the money to do it and got people to move here and got, otherwise. So it's been hard, but sort of maybe necessary, and we're about to launch, so we'll see if it was a good or bad choice.
It sounds like a good entrepreneurial moment for you.
Pretty scrappy, yeah, it's scrappy.
Pretty scrappy.
Yeah.
Allie, what about you with the cannabis industry? What was the market research like on that?
Well, there was no market research, no real market research. There was the medical field, or the medical marijuana industry prior to the recreational, but there was no true market. They weren't operating as actual businesses. They didn't pay taxes. They didn't have true employees. They didn't have anything like that. So truthfully, we were starting from scratch, even our point of sale systems. So everyone is learning from the ground up. And being one of the first 10, you get to experience literally every piece of growing pain that the state throws at you, that the growers are having, because you can't supply yourself. Your growers have to learn how to also abide by all of the state regulations and how to package and how to put traceability on each package that they send you, because the state, it is a seed to sale tracking, so they track every nug or every bit of product from the time it starts growing until it's out our doors. And the point of sale softwares didn't even exist in the industry for that. So we've finally actually just got the opportunity to transition into a new point of sale this last week. And if any of you have had to go through those kinds of changes, it's extremely difficult, but also in an industry where they have no data to go by, they are growing and working through these pains right alongside you. It's really difficult. So in trying to get that customer information and retention in your data system so that you do have research to use later on is extremely difficult, because those point of sales, they're just trying to get up and get going also so that the market has a way to sell. So there's a lot of growing pains and information
Pun
that
intended, pun not intended.
What was that?
Growing pains?
Yeah.
There's a lot of good puns in the cannabis.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. So even just as simple as a point of sale system, it didn't even exist. So let alone any kind of sales or trends or customer base or there was nothing that existed. So, 5 years in, we're still growing and learning. And like I said, we just transferred onto a new point of sale 5 years in, and they're still learning and growing and trying to create different aspects of their platform for us to be able to use, and it's not perfected. So it's ever changing.
And so when you first started, there weren't a lot of growers out there that had gotten their product all the way from that seed to sale for you guys. So how has the process of choosing growers, choosing processors to purchase from, how has that evolved?
So our model initially was to be local. We're local owners. We want, obviously everything is pretty local because you can't buy out of state. So everything is produced and grown and everything in Washington state. So, but we really tried to stay local. We tried to stay within the valley, and there were quite a few growers and producers and processors. That's what they're called, producers and processors. So a producer grows the marijuana, and the processor will package it for you and then distribute it for you. So you can either have a producer-processor license, or you can have a producer license or a processor, and then you can have a retail. You can't have three. You can't be a retailer and in any capacity be on the producer-processor side. So we were at the mercy of whether these people could produce product and get it into the state system and then get it packaged and delivered to us at a price that people were going to pay. I think that the first day we opened, I want to say, one of my business partners is here, we had a handful of growers or less. We had maybe 5 growers, and it was like $20 a gram. And so we've really tried to but from the beginning, it was local. We wanted everything locally sourced as much as possible, really emphasized local growers. They did take a hit with the county regulations in the last year, which was sad to see them, put their money and their livelihood and so forth into these businesses in good faith that they could succeed and prosper working hard and going by state regulation. So we do source from anywhere in the state, but really what they do is the state gives them the opportunity to bring in X amount of samples to each retailer a month, and you track those samples, and basically you figure out what's worth having in your store or not. So really they're coming to you unless you hear about something small, some small mom and pop that you reach out to, and you're like, we've heard a lot about your product, we want to reach out, customers are asking for you, what can we do? But really it is those sales associates those growers coming into our store and letting us know what they have, giving us samples, giving us price points, and kind of going from there.
And so how do you plan for the future in an industry like yours?
So you kind of just plan as far out as you can, and it's hard in our industry just because of the regulatory system. When we opened initially, you could only own 3 stores in the state, so we applied for 3 stores in the area, 1 that we're familiar with, and 2 that we didn't think anyone else would be looking at. Everyone wants to be in Seattle, it's the big market, where all the people are. So really we just take it day by day and look as far out as we can. We forecast. Now you can own 5 businesses in the state legally per individual. So, you always have your eye out there looking at what's going on in the industry and if there's viable opportunity or not. But really we try and be like most industries where you forecast out for your tourism season or your Croptober season where you're going to slow down, or your Christmas season. So really we try to be like a traditional business, because that's what it is at the end of the day. Whether you're selling marijuana or you're selling Pepsi or you're selling whatever it is, sandwiches, you have to run like a business. So that's really what we do is forecast as such. And during the summer, that's our tourism season, and you really understand that this community is very tourism based once you get into business, because you do see an influx in the summer, and you do see those dips when October and the Christmas season roll around.
And William, what about you? What was the market research like from Escape Tactics?
So although we're the first escape room in this area, so within about a 2-hour radius, the closest one I think would be Union Gap. When we first opened, or when we were first looking for research in the area, it's kind of a 3-part series. Yes, we didn't have any direct competition to look at, so it'd be nice to look and see what kind of competitors are there. We were able to look at other entertainment businesses in the area. So as fewer there are in Wenatchee, it was still nice to see if that was something people did, overall your general demographics. But to see how other entertainment businesses did in the area. 2 was be able to look at other escape rooms that happen to be located in areas that are similar to Wenatchee. So like usual, if you can't find anything directly in the area, we would look at other cities in the other neighboring Pacific Northwest and basically be able to use them that had kind of a similar demographic to Wenatchee in the greater area, especially being so close to somewhere like Leavenworth. Tie that in, but don't bank on the fact that tourism is going to get you, because in general, sometimes it doesn't, especially as he says, some are better than others. And so in general, we wanted to ensure that this was going to be a good fit for us. So the third one was visiting. So I think the biggest thing that I could give to anybody is your gut feeling is going to be one of the biggest things you have in business. You will visit the area, you'll go somewhere, you'll do something, and you'll know deep down if it's right or wrong. Maybe you've learned from previous experiences that were not so good, which is great. It's okay to fail. It's okay to be wrong. But in general, the third part was definitely coming to the area, being able to look for ourselves, being able to see what was in the area, that there was a demand for indoor recreational activities, that there wasn't anything alike, especially in the area, even between Chelan, Leavenworth, and so on, and that it just felt right to be here. People were great. The community was great. We knew that people I think would really invite us in, and we took that all into consideration when we made our decision.
And so were your other escape rooms that you've opened, you said you were involved with some others down in the south, were those markets similar to Wenatchee in size, or were they lots bigger, or tell us about that?
Yes. So I was involved. I wasn't an owner at the time in Fort Myers. I joined the team and kind of co-founded the organization in Fort Myers, Florida. If you guys are familiar with Fort Myers, it's pretty much like 6 months on, 6 months off. You hope that you can make all your money in 6 months so that you can kind of defend yourself for 6 months, which is very scary. It's hard to be in a seasonal location. Part of one of our research tactics when we got here was, is there a season? And it really depends if you're in the ag industry, if you're in entertainment, if you're whatever you're in. So it was kind of nice not to see that. But I won't say that any of the experiences I've had before have been anything similar to Wenatchee. Maybe it's because of that desire, that nomadic creativity to want to just move and do different things and take on new challenges. I think Kyle had pointed out, it's kind of what it is. You want to do it in general. I love the drive. You want to work hard for it in general. And yeah, we had visited the area. It felt good, ultimately, in the end. We had never experienced something like this in a similar capacity. Wenatchee is very unique, especially being so closely bordered to a huge tourist town like Leavenworth, where there are anywhere from 300 to 400,000 people who visit a month. And, that was pretty much it. So hadn't experienced it, was looking forward to it. You got to work for it, and I loved it, and I just wanted to put my feet down and go for it.
And so you said the industry here is not seasonal, or do you find that the winter months are a little bit,
yes,
because it's indoor?
So it's nice that we're indoor. People originally were like, oh, are you seasonal? Are you only open sometimes? And we're like, no, we're year round. Amazingly enough, there were a lot of rumors when we first opened. People were like, oh, we heard you guys were only open for, I was like, no, we're year round. So I definitely noticed this season, both myself and my business partner, we definitely noticed that there are big trends. I would say being an indoor recreational activity, we are definitely, we benefit in the winter. People love skiing, and that's fantastic. We love outdoor activities as well, but sometimes it gets too cold, so it's nice to be indoors. We have great heat. Additionally, in the summer, it gets really hot. Unfortunately, there are a lot of environmental factors to consider. When there are a lot of fires, people don't want to go outside and do those rafting or different outdoor activities, and so we do benefit from extreme heat or different things, or in general, summertime. When people are looking for things to do, there are a few activities to do with families, so we do benefit from that. I will say it's March and April. In general, it's those seasons I think that a lot of people see. It's prior. The biggest obstacle we've had with ours is that people are coming out of, I've got to pay my credit card bills after Christmas to, in general, the parks are open again. So when things start to open up for the season, people don't want to be indoors. You've been indoors forever. And Wenatchee, it can start in December and it can go all the way until April. So if you're cooped inside, you're less likely to do that. We stay consistently busy to those seasons, though, because we do a lot of corporate team building during those times. I would say they pretty much spike then. But in terms of seasons, yeah, definitely, I would say either right back to school or definitely right before, around apple blossom, just before.
Great.
Yeah.
And I have one last question for each of you, and that is, what advice would you give for anyone who wants to become an entrepreneur? And Kyle, we'll start with you.
I have to start
You're
that one?
You're in the hot
That's
seat.
a big one. How much time do we have? Am I allowed to complain or just give nice advice? Can I say one thing on market research? I know I'm not going to take over
yes,
time.
absolutely.
I was just listening to all these things. I think this is a panel for people to learn entrepreneurship.
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
I'm just thinking that market research is so different depending on what kind of business you want. So there's lifestyle businesses and there's businesses that want to go public, right? And so you're going to have a lot different market research definition if you're looking at starting like a SaaS software company that you want to have global, that's going to be global or whatever, than it is if you're going to do Cafe Mela. And it's like a happy, nice little coffee shop, in somewhere. So, or if you're going to be like a sales business that's driven by big customers, right? Your market research, if you're local, should probably just be who are the 5 customers that I could possibly sell to. That's just so different, right? And so, what's the scope? What are you looking to start? For me, like for Foray, I would like to build something that could scale. So the national, ideally, right? If it's successful, then it could scale. And so that's different than Mela. I didn't do very much market research. It was more like company research when we were buying Mela and just saying it's a going concern. It's not very entrepreneurial just to buy a business, but it is a bit. But for Foray, it's more important, like, can it scale? And then that just brings in a lot more seriousness in market research because people have to understand or they have to agree with you, right?
Definitely.
That it could scale or that the market is right for that. So that's what I was thinking as I was thinking different scales and different things as we're looking at these businesses. But
Yeah, and when you're, that's one of the first things I talk about when I have a client come in is what's your goal for this company? Is it going to stay local? Is it going to be local? Or do you ever plan on going public? Because then your entity choice changes. Are you a corporation? Are you an LLC? How are we structuring your membership? Is it limited or managing? And so you will have all of these different questions when you do start that business as to what are your goals long term and who do you think your customer
Right.
is? Yeah.
Yeah, we have so many hurdles to jump. So if you ask me, like, what are the wildest dreams, it would be a long and fanciful conversation for Foray. but then we have to just like launch our software, and then we have to just get people to care about it, and then we have to see what's going on, and then so it's just like an option value creation thing. But you have to think about the end to start, right? So
Yeah. Start with the end in mind, right?
So like I think if I'm going to do really short advice for entrepreneurs, if you're someone like me, you probably have like a lot of ideas, and then that don't last more than like a week. So I'm glad I didn't try to start those like 1,000 different ideas that only lasted a week or were only interesting for a week. And the Foray idea, I mean, whether it works or not, is the first idea that I've felt good about for multiple years. And so they asked me to send like, how old is this company? And it's like 2016. That was sort of depressing to see. Like, geez, I've been doing this since 2016. We're almost launched, But, different things have different sort of, I hope it's exponential, right? Like exponential things don't really look like they're growing to start. I keep like holding on to the exponential beginning, So, I mean, I would make sure that you are able to rekindle your passion for that idea or that thing that you want to do, because I've had to rekindle it like 20 times. And as long as you can keep, like, you get in the weeds and then someone asks you, like, oh, what are you hoping to do? And then you can get back out of the weeds and talk about it. That is a really encouraging thing for me. And if it's not encouraging, probably don't do it. Like, probably a bad idea to start that thing if it's not re-encouraging when you start talking about it.
Right. You're not passionate about it every time it comes up. Can't reignite that.
And you better be able to learn, like, be a really, really good learner, because if you're not, you're gonna fail. So just do something else,
Hungry, and happy, right?
Yeah.
Allie, what about you?
So I would say I got in this young, and I would say something that I've learned is to choose your business partners wisely. It has nothing to do with my situation, but it's just you learn people work differently. Like, you know them on one level, and then you get into business with them, and you really see the way people's minds work, or their work ethic, or their creativity, or those types of things. So that's something that I had never really heard prior to getting into business, but truthfully to entrepreneurs is understand who you're getting into business with. And then is there a need for it, and do you care about it? Is it something that you can wake up and do every day, or because you're going to have to work long hours, you're going to have to work a lot. But I think in today's market, really, is there a need, or are you filling a problem or a void? I think would be a really big one, because there is a lot of competition out there in a lot of the sectors, and if you aren't filling a need or a void, it can be extremely hard to stay open, period, or to be successful. So those would be a couple pieces of advice.
Great, thanks. And William, what advice would you give for anybody who wants to become an entrepreneur?
So I have a little bit to add to that, but you guys pretty much took my words, which was great, because that's really reassuring to see that additional entrepreneurs and professionals do have common ground. I think the biggest thing that Kyle said was, and although our flames haven't gone out, in times of hardship, so we've been open for 2 years. I've always wanted to be a business owner since I was a kid. I've always said I wanted to own my own business, and I did. I think the biggest thing is you've got to, if you believe in it for several years and you know that that idea is right, many ideas might come, but if you know what you want to do, follow it, do it. Please be a business owner. I think it's incredible. I think you learn a lot. You learn way more than you'll ever learn doing anything else. From if it's building to dealing with a city or understanding law. At a young age, it's really great to be able to sit back, turn around, and kind of see the achievements you've because that means that only for the future, there's so much more potential that we can do. If it's in our own business, if it's more businesses, or just whatever it is in life. But there are some hardships. Yes, there are going to be days where you sit there and you think, am I going to get customers? What do we do? What can we do when you've exhausted all resources and you've got to wake up and go, I love what I do, and I do. And you always get reminded when you talk about your business, because you definitely know when you start speaking about it and then you spend 20 minutes talking about it, that you're like, I think I actually enjoy this. And then that keeps you going. And I could talk for days about the escape room, not about the people that are missing because they haven't escaped, but
That would be me. Yeah.
but more so just the exhilaration I get from doing it. A couple of things would be, please do it because you're going to learn so much that you've never learned before. Even if it's in a small place like Wenatchee, we've grown and developed on a personal level, even if it's our professional business. The things you'll learn are incredible. More so than when I lived overseas. It's funny because people say, oh, great, you lived in China, and I grew up overseas in Paris and things like that, and that must be wonderful, and you speak languages, but being a business owner takes you to new heights, gives you new confidence, and it's beautiful. In terms of the fire, please, stick with it. I promise you it'll work, but make sure that your idea is right. Make sure what you're doing is accurate. Make sure that the idea isn't just something that you thought up and then you thought this is going to be fun. Hey, my dog needs this, or whatever it is. Because in general, if you believe it, go for it, but otherwise, make sure that that there is a need for it, that you feel like it's right. But yeah, at the end of the day, it takes a certain kind of person. It's not for everybody. That's a big thing I've learned. I've seen people come and go. But just do it.
Since 1999, GWATA has served as North Central Washington's Tech Alliance. As a 501c3, our mission is to bring people and technology resources together to create a thriving community. Through our work, we aim to inspire, engage, and connect.